So people have been talking about this raid ready boost recently released in World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Essentially what happens is you pay $60, you get an enhanced level 70 character. What does that mean? You get immediate access to the latest content, raid ready level 424 gear, up to 20 renown with 5 major Dragonflight factions. You get the first 5 dragon riding mounts unlocked and a bunch of other stuff that nobody cares about. This paid content has really made people mad. This has really pissed off a lot of people in the community, and essentially what people are saying is that this is incredibly bad for the game, and really what they are mad about is being able to buy a character that is ready to go into raid with money essentially. While this shouldn't really be a surprise that this exists, people are still complaining about it. And the reason that it shouldn't be a surprise is because catch-up mechanics have always been a thing in World of Warcraft. I mean, this started back in the day with Wrath of the Lich King, where Blizzard implemented a way to get catch-up legendaries for your characters later in the expansion so that more people can enjoy the end game that is ICC, Ulduar, and TOGC. Now granted, at the time, those were not, you could not pay for those, for that catch-up mechanic. You had to go earn it, you had to go play the game to get it. But in the modern day where everything is for sale in World of Warcraft, you can see that just by going onto the game and looking at trade chat. Everything going on here is selling boosts, selling carries, selling achievements, selling everything. So really it should come to no surprise to anyone that now Blizzard is leveraging this sentiment within the community to essentially sell you a character. And people are very mad about this, but tell you the truth, this really is not that big of a deal. Now, let's say they were selling a raid ready character that had full 444 or maybe full 454. That's different. However, this 424 gear is not really very significant. As you can see, the way that the game is laid out currently, normal dungeons give you 421 gear, heroic dungeons 428, and all the way up to mythic raid, which now delivers 480 to 496 gear. So when you're buying a character that's geared in 424 item level gear, you're really buying a character that's positioned about here in between normal dungeons and heroic dungeons. So I mean, what does that really mean? Essentially what that means is your character, you get to skip the normal dungeon grind, which who's doing normal dungeons right now? I can't imagine it's a lot of people. So it kind of makes sense to implement a way for people who are just now joining the game to be able to skip the questing and dungeon grind and just enjoy what the game has to offer. This is really a way for this side of the community to attract new players. And like I said previously, it's the same thing as Wrath of the Lich King with catch-up gear. I mean, just now it's actually for sale. And let's be honest with ourselves for a second. If you play any version of WoW, after you've leveled up a character once, I mean, no one really wants to do leveling again. Not many people opt to level 5 or 6 characters and gear those characters up for the end game and do all that. A lot of people would opt to pay for that service if they could. And you can see that in hardcore, you can see it in classic, you can see it in Season of Discovery, you can see it in vanilla, you see it all over WoW. That's why gold buying is rampant right now in SOD and Wrath of the Lich King, because people would much rather pay to do what they feel like are chores in the game. And for the most part, this late into the expansion, leveling is a chore and doing normal dungeons is a chore. Not to mention, just because you buy this character boost, just because you have a 424 item level character, you're not getting into any of this content here without having ahead of the curve or being able to link an achievement in the game. So really having someone being able to buy a level 424 item level character is really not that big of a deal. It's just a way for people to enjoy the game that haven't got to enjoy it yet. So while I think it would be horrendous if they sold, you know, a 437 level character or a 457 level character, as far as the end game is concerned, you really don't get to start playing the end game until you're geared to do mythic dungeons and geared enough to join an LFR raid or try to do a normal raid. And like I said, even still, item level is not the gatekeeper for those oftentimes. Oftentimes it's achievements. It's ahead of the curve. And just to prove my point, let's go into LFG and look. What are some of the requirements on these groups here? Link AOTC and Whisper. Link AOTC. AOTC only. Link experience. Must know fight or kick. I guarantee you this guy's gonna have me link. That guy never responded to me, and I will admit that not as many groups were requesting AOTC as I had thought, but I guess the raid is still relatively new, but regardless, generally most groups will require you to have AOTC, and that requires you to either find a guild to run it with, which this late in the phase, I don't know how easy that is to do. But again, I really don't see this as that big of a deal. This really just seems like a catch-up mechanic to get new players involved that maybe would like to check out the new raid in the end game. And again, it's the same sentiment as it was from Wrath of the Lich King. So while people are very upset about this, I don't really think that they should be. I think most players would like to buy most of their services anyway. This isn't really landing someone past any critical content or any sort of high skill content or anything like that. It's not like you're buying Challenger and League, or it's sort of like buying an account in League of Legends that's high enough to start playing ranked games, and people do that all the time and they're fine with it. Or buying an account in Valorant that's level 20, so you don't have to grind level 1 through 20 before you want to jump into ranked, and people do that all the time as well. This boost isn't really putting you in a spot that's, I would say, incredibly valuable. Certainly not so much to say that it's crippling the game and ruining the game. What's ruining the game is selling mythic carries, heroic carries, and so many other things besides 424 level boost. I mean, come on, it's really not that big of a deal to be put here. So let me know if you guys agree or disagree. I've been Java Monkey J. Peace.